Yep. Back again. All right, so we can hop right into this one. Congratulations to me. 100 songs recorded it's a definitely a big feat for me. Um, like I say, I didn't think it was in the plans, but it was never a goal, but it was kind of subconsciously always a goal, right? Um, Celebrating yourself, right? So it's just like I didn't wait for nobody gonna know, nobody's gonna whatever the case may be. So I didn't wait for nobody to try to figure it out or whatever. I let it be known because my thing is from the beginning, like I wasn't really competing with anybody when it comes to music. Like I was competing with time, right? There's a ton of people that was rapping and singing or whatever the case may be when I started. That's unfortunately still not doing it, right? But that all comes down to, I don't want to say will or drive, or I think that has part to play with it, but it comes down to a lot of things. But like I said, you always know that time sifts people out, and that's cool. Like if you was in it, you tried it, and it wasn't really for you, or whatever the case may be, like cool. But it's just like it's. I always knew that time would kind of show who's left, or it would show who's supposed to be there. So it's just like to kind of be here and kind of accomplish that is kind of a big deal for me. But in the same breath, it's just like get back to work, right? It's motivating. Like my thing is there is no finish line, right? Every time you get to a finish line, it's really another start line. So who knows, Lord willing, another 100 songs. But I just think when I look back on everything, again, funny, we always talk about it, but the journey, right? The journey for it, to it, was who I've become, right? Like even starting off, like my motives were definitely different from what they are now. Oh Saint, look who it is. My motives were definitely different in the beginning, and then to see how far that I was able to come, it's kind of weird to see like the transition of who I've become after the fact. Hello, Saint, the Saint. So yeah, so that's always cool to see how time changes you as a person, and how you're able to evolve. And like I said, I think the most important thing about it is there were points in the journey where it's like I felt like I could have I don't want to say lost myself, but could have lost myself. But it's just like I was able to kind of see through, like see the bigger picture. So it's just like didn't take shortcuts for the sake of taking shortcuts. Understanding that it's a long tail game and what we're doing. So yeah, so the 100 songs to me, like I said, it means a lot, but at the same time, it's just another start line for me. So that's always cool. So understanding there are no finish lines. Every finish line is just another start line, right? And then one thing that's been like, I don't know, pressing me is the fact it's no excuses, no shortcuts. It's just sacrifices, right? Like a lot of people want to do things or trying to do things or whatever the case may be, and it's just like you make an excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, and it's just like it's what? Then you don't accomplish, right? It's no shortcuts to it. It's a grind. It's a daily thing. It's a everyday. It's a repetitive thing. It at times gets boring, but it's just like it's daily. It's growth. It's slow, but when you look back, you'll see it, right? So it's just like I don't know. And I think I speak for myself first. Like I'm tired of like making excuses for myself for things that I didn't do. Then you sucked, right? Like it's just like you couldn't figure it out, and that's on me, right? I failed. Like I try not to talk about things like if I had an idea, like, oh, this would have been such a great idea. Like, you like that, right? It's like, oh, this could have been such a great idea or whatever the case may be. But it's just like if you don't move on it, that's on you. Like there's nobody else to point to. Like you need to find a way to execute. If you can't, then you failed. You live with that. Like I'm kind of done like making excuses for myself and being like, well, I'm super creative. I just don't have the time to think of this, or I'm doing so much, or I have to do everything. Like I still remember the best thing somebody told me. This dude Vidal, I was complaining. This is back in like 2012. I was complaining and I was just like, well, I have to do this. I have to record the music. I got to produce the music. I got to do my artwork. I got to promote it. I got to this. And he looked at me. He's just like, so what? You mean you can't do it? It's like nobody could do it. It's just like nobody could do everything. But I took that as such a challenge. I was just like, really? I can't do it? Okay. And it's just like I started that at that point. It's just like I was like, I'm no longer relying on anybody else. Like I will figure it out myself, from down to doing my graphics, figuring out how to do video, figuring out how to do producing the music, everything. I was just like, if I need it, I'm going to figure it out, because I'm never going to leave myself too long at the mercy of somebody else. Like I hate playing from that hand. It's just like I feel like you're so limited and you're so restricted to only what they're willing to do. And I hate playing by those rules. It's just like I like to move when I got to move and do what I got to do. So it's just that's kind of where I'm at with that. Just saying what up to the guys in the chat. I see y'all. Y'all have any questions, let me know. But yeah, outside of that, life has been life. Like I'm in the middle of the Walt Disney biography. And I think it's just interesting to see everything that he's gone through. Like it puts things in perspective for me. Like it's like the risks that he had to take, and the constant lack of money that his business faced, like the constant having to loan and having to trying to keep ownership and just the constant tribulations that he had to face and he had to overcome. And it's just like it puts things in perspective. Like I'm sitting here going through whatever it is I'm going through, looking at my bills, and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta take care of that. I gotta take care of that. You talking about people back in the day, he's putting up 150, 200 grand, 300 grand in debt, $500,000, $1 million in debt. So it's just like, what are you complaining about? 20 grand? Okay. Like figure it out. Like it's like everything is relative to somebody else's journey. So it's just like, it's no excuse for that. What's good, D? It's no excuse for not figuring it out. You know what I mean? It's just like somebody else has it tougher. No matter whatever it is that you're going through, somebody else has it tougher. And it's just like, even the greats, when you study them, it's just like they all went through something. So like, why do you think your journey's supposed to be easy? Right? And that's another thing. At times I feel like we think life is happening to us. Like, oh, like something happened and it's just like, oh, it's just me. Like, it's not just you. It's what life handed you. Like, it happens to everybody, right? It's like, it may not be at that moment, but like it's everybody. It's not just you. Life isn't picking on you. So I think that's more than half the battle when you stop looking at Stop looking at things like, oh, life is it's just me. I'm just the only one struggling with this, or I'm just the only one struggling with, and realize like, you know what? This is what it's giving me. How do I play this hand? Like, how do I move on this? Having that perspective. And like I said, I speak all of this from me, like me learning it, because it's like, I feel like I go through this on a firsthand basis of like, it's just like some of the things I feel like I'm trying to overcome. They went through a breaking point that led to their own vision. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I'm jumping around, but Jerry said they went through a breaking point. The greats, they went through a breaking point that led to their own vision. And that's the thing. The struggle made it. The struggle, like when you look at Walt Disney's story, like the struggle is actually what made him great, right? Like him going through and getting jerked around, for lack of a better term, with the different distributors and everything in the beginning. It's just like, that's what made, like, all of those struggles is what ultimately made him who he was at the end, because he understood the game. So it's just like the very thing we're praying against, right? The very thing we're like, oh no, like, spare me the struggle, spare me the pain, is the very thing that gets you to the other side. Like I'm constantly going to say this, and it's just like the path to success is only on the road to like struggle. Like it's paved with struggle. That's it. Because on the other side of that struggle, that's success. Like you learned all of those lessons. But it's like, if you're not struggling in anything that you're doing, how are you going to be successful? Like, what are you learning? Like, how are you being pushed? How are you, like, you'll never get, it's not like, it's like, I think it's so, we have it all backwards. Like regular people say, like, try to stay comfortable at all time. Like that's like in our innate nature. And it's just like the very opposite to what like successful people actually go through. Like Phil Knight and Nike, like the risks that he took was nuts. If you read that, if you read that biography, it's just like, it's like all of those struggles is exactly what placed him in a winning position. So it's just like, my method is get the L's out of the way as quick as you can. Like I'm lose quickly, man. Like I rather lose quickly. Like I talk to people every time. I'm like, get the loss out of the way. Like you suck at making decisions, make a ton of decisions. And like, if you make a bad decision, just adjust quickly. That's another thing. Like we feel like we have to linger with it because our pride, and we don't want it, what it's going to look like to other people to be like, well, if I stopped, or if I don't care. I don't care. And trust me, other people don't care that much. We're not studying your lives. We really don't care too much. So it's just like, you got to understand and kind of figure out that for yourself, but not taking yourself, I don't want to say not taking yourself so seriously, but when you realize you're going to die and then that's it, I think that's the biggest thing that puts things in perspective for me all the time. Like, I know that's a morbid way to think, but it's just like when I realize every time I think of that, like, I'm just like, what am I afraid of? What is there to be afraid of? Like, what? Like, I'm not going to live a constricted life for people that I don't know. What's good, man? Thanks for hopping on. I'm not going to live a constricted life for people that I don't know. For what? And we all going to die. Like, I'm not going to live based off of somebody else's opinions. Now, I'd rather, if I'm going to take an L, let me take an L and let me die on my sword all day. Like, I'll die on my sword. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather lose shooting 80 shots. I don't care. Like, let me lose, though. Like, I'm not going to lose off of you. Like, it doesn't make that makes no sense to me, to live a life confined to the restrictions of everybody else. And that's the thing. And people don't do it purposely, but it's people get uncomfortable when you start trying to, I don't want to say start trying to be great as a cliche, but like when you're not even overachieving, they look at it as overachieving. But when you try to do more, people get very uncomfortable because it shines a light on what they're not doing. Right. And that's something that I've struggled with a lot. Like, I know that I play down to my competition. a lot. I used to, at least, play down to my competition a lot because I'm the type of guy, I don't want attention like that. Like, I rather just play the back. So it's just like, I feel like that if I do too much, they gonna start asking me how I did it, this and that. Like, I just don't want that conversation. But what I realize is that me playing down and me playing down my whatever my gifts are and my talents are, it's not like that's hindering me in every point of my life, right? Next step, writing a book. You were supposed to write a book. I think you wanted to write a book, so you'll help me write the book. But understanding that she made me lose my train of thought. But understanding that at the end of the day, man, it's your life to live, right? So it's just like you've got to figure. Put the ball in your hands. You know what I mean? Like take chances for you, because I always fear being 60, 70, 80 and starting to be like, I wish I would have done this, or what would such and such have said if I had said this to such and such, or what would, like, that is like my greatest fear. Like, I feel like I overshare at points. I talk too much. I say too much sometimes just so I never have to go through that. Like, I think that's the worst. Like, that's the worst type of regret. Like, having to go through and be like, oh man, like I should have done this, or I should have tried this, or I could have been this. I have this is going to sound crazy, but I have no respect for anybody that's like, I could have been. That just means you didn't do what you should have did. I have no respect for anybody that says I could have been. None whatsoever. You just didn't do what you should. Don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it. Like, find the next one, because you clearly didn't do what it was that you were supposed to do. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's no empathy for that. There's no sympathy for that. I don't feel for you for that. Like, that's on you. You couldn't find a way to put it together. I get it. Move on. Like, but don't talk and sit and be like, well, I could have been this, or I couldn't. No, you don't get that here. It ain't no claps for you, no nothing. Like, we don't care about what people could have been. What were you? What did you accomplish? You know what I mean? Start somewhere. All right. People be like, well, I want to do it, but I can't do it 100%. 60% is better than 0%. And your 60% is 100% to somebody else. Because I feel like, and I had, again, firsthand, I had to learn that, right? Like, I had to go through, and I feel like I was a perfectionist on a lot of things, and I had to let go and realize, like, listen, not even being cocky, but like my 60% of some of the things I do is 110% to people when they see it. So it's just like, okay, that even my 70%, 80%. So that 20% that I'm fighting for to make perfect, that's just pride. That's just for me. That's just for me to say, oh, shoot, like I did that like that way. Like, that's all pride. You know what I mean? Like, 60 was enough. 70 was enough. Like, that's better than 0. That's what people don't get. That's why people aren't executing. Because I realized a long time ago, like, I'm like, there's people that are more successful than me that shouldn't be. Like, I'm more talented than them. It doesn't matter. They're executing. So I can be as more talented all I want, but at the end of the day, they are actually out there doing it. So me being talented means absolutely nothing at that point. Absolutely nothing. So it's just like, that's when I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do. I'm going to do, because at the end of the day, something out there is an opportunity versus nothing being out there. And I can live with that. I can live with being understanding and being like, okay, you know what? I did everything that I thought of, or I executed on everything that I could have, or I did it the best that I can, and I can live with that result. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so that's that for this episode. Like I said, appreciate y'all hopping in. And we will be back next week. All right. All right, guys.